one on that.
It's not go across the big part, but
Joe, how we doing? We on?
there's open water in mine.
I've been getting a lot of questions about it.
All right,
Okay, we're on? Okay, good evening. I'd like to open the February 15th meeting of the Conservation Commission. Call it to order at 7 PM in Town Hall.
Mr. Chairman, our first hearing?
We are being broadcast tonight, and it will be taped for later recordings though. So if we could, Matt, if you could help me out, we have our chair and our vice chair absent, so we'll have the first, roll call. Roll call. Didn't see that on here.
I never usually put it on there, Rich just does the roll call.
I know. You have to retrain me. Okay, roll call. Jack Rabbit? Present. Ken Jones?
Yes.
Bob Pease?
Here?
Thomas Bertram?
Here.
And by phone? Myself, Carl Luck, and by phone, Richard Birch? All right. Okay, announcements. Any announcements? I don't have any announcements. Matt, do you have any announcements?
None, Mr. Chairman.
No? Okay. Public comment by the commission?
Yeah, I just have one. I've been getting a lot of emails from residents. The lakes in Lunenburg are not safe. Hickory Hills was wide open before we got the snowstorm. I don't believe Lake Shirley is safe, and likewise for Lake Whalen, it's also open. So now that we have snow, people are out there cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. I know some people get off the trails and they go on the lake, so I wanted to make sure that that was commented. Also, from a trail standpoint, the Cowdrey lot is groomed and hoping to get out and get to the large town forest before the weekend.
Nice.
So just so you're aware.
Must be beautiful out there.
The Cowdrey lot's pristine right now.
Any other public comment?
Yes, Matt, is the MAC conference still open for signing up?
Yes.
Okay. I'll send you a note, just confirm.
Send me the modules you want to take. I'll fill out a form and fax it over to you.
All right, thank you.
Because I actually got the PO open to be paid on that.
Yeah, okay.
I would like to, get them signed up.
I'll send you guys reminders tomorrow.
Okay, with the
Appreciate that.
Yes, the 4th of March. And it's, I believe, the Holy Cross, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, any more public comment by the commission? Any public comment from the public? Seeing none, we'll go to the first appointment.
Mr. Chairman, our first hearing is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. We have a public hearing on a notice of intent by Dan Proctor for work at 140 Peninsula Drive. The work entails the installation of a septic system and water service line within the 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area. All the application and supporting materials were available for review at the Conservation Commission office, and if the public still desires, an emailing of a PDF of the application is also an option by emailing the Conservation Commission office.
Thank you, Matt. Is the applicant with us? Yes, come on up and introduce yourself.
It's my green cards.
Have a seat.
You know you can do certificate of mail now.
I know. There's still a bunch of them that are still doing green cards, so. My name is Jack Maloney, I'm from Ducharme Dillis. I'm here on behalf of Dan Proctor and the owner, Janice Hogue Hitchcock, 140 Peninsula Drive, Hickory Hills. Existing two-bedroom house, has a shallow well and a cesspool somewhere. The shallow well's within the house. The cesspool somewhere between the house and the shed. We did some soil testing this past fall, designed a Presby-type system out in this area, as far from the lake as we possibly could. There is town water that's going to be proposed. There is a stub that exists right out at the edge of the road that we're going to run in, and we're going to have a septic tank and a pump chamber in the existing gravel driveway that going to feed the septic system. The blue's the lake, obviously. This red is the 30-foot no-touch zone. We have the 50-foot buffer, which is right here, this gray line, and then the 100-foot buffer is out here, so almost the entire lot is inside the 100-foot buffer.
It looks like the proposed septic tank is outside of both buffer zones, with the exception of the pump.
The septic tank is within the 30-foot, and the pump chamber is partially in, but mostly out of 30-foot. But again, it's in the existing gravel driveway that's there.
Okay, and where's the existing system relative to the...
It's somewhere in this area in here. It's basically just a cesspool.
Oh, okay.
Jack, is the Board of Health approved this?
We were supposed to go to the meeting the other night, and they canceled due to lack of quorum, I guess. Monday night, so it's been pushed out to the next hearing, which I believe is March 1st.
Septic system they should be okay with. I just wondered, there's no grading changes at all?
There'll be a little bit of a grade change in through here
outside of 50.
due to the groundwater table. But, you know, we've got a poly barrier, and then there's gonna be a shallow, or a short retaining wall in this gray area right here, just to hold fill back so it's not blowing into the existing gravel
No other
driveway.
wells, no shallow point wells?
No.
In that area? They were the last ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then the town left the stub right here for them, so everybody else is tied into the town water.
No choice.
Mr. Chair, I evaluated the project. My notes are in the file, which is here. It's the top file in this bundle. Essentially, I found no issues with the proposed project. The erosion protection looks like it's well placed. The areas where it has to go in the 30-foot zone, and in the 50-foot zone by consequence, is actually under the existing gravel driveway, and the septic system is out. It's a small lot, and the options are limited. I did note, however, for the file, that there was, you'll notice on my note, you'll see something on the back side of the paper. On the submission, it noted in the notice of intent, it was out of the floodplain, but the Mass GIS overlay shows it as being in the floodplain. It's because the overlay's off a little bit. What you'll find on the reverse side of my notes is the actual outprint of the FEMA map with the locus on it. That's the actual FEMA map, which is what we have to go by, which shows conclusively that all those houses on that part of Peninsula Drive are out of the floodplain.
Good, nice work.
So, I had just noticed that, and I knew it wasn't in the floodplain, so when I consulted the FEMA map online, that's what I had found. So, again, my recommendation on this would be for a standard order. I think a standard order will handle this just fine.
Do we have any erosion protection that's on the plan or that's needed? I don't know how the grading is on the property.
We have the erosion protection here in orange. It's
Okay, around the
gonna
entire-
wrap on the right side of the driveway all the
And
way,
then wrap around the house.
and then wrap around here until the elevation starts rising over here, so.
It should be more than sufficient, it's just kind of boxing everything in where the construction is.
Correct.
Should be good.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Entertain a motion,
I did have a couple questions.
oh, yes, Richards.
At least in viewing the Google satellite views, this is a substantially wooded lot, and it looks like there'll be quite a bit of grading going on, especially up in the septic area. And given the close proximity and the grade down to the water, do we have a remediation call out for what's going to happen to prevent the erosion and runoff once the trees are taken down from the lot?
Basically, what happens in this area here, there's a low spot that sits in this driveway, and then there's a high spot of a 100 here, and then you have a 97 in this area here. The erosion control is going to be placed on the other side of that driveway. No vegetation is going to be touched between the driveway and the lake on this side. And Rich is right, there is going to be some trees in here. It's not heavily wooded, it's just that there's a lot of small pine in there. And Matt can attest for that if he's been out there.
Yes.
Probably, what, 10 inch at the most?
At the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, just where it was wooded, I didn't see much evidence of ground vegetation. But once the trees are gone, I just want to make sure that we have a call out for loaming and seeding, and possibly some smaller understory vegetation where you really can't put trees back in the septic area.
So Richard, where do you envision that would be, sort of the perimeter of the septic area, or?
Yeah, the septic area itself, like I say, it is treed, and then the elevations tend to run right back down to the water.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure that there is some plan in place for a little bit of landscaping and grading and seeding in and around the septic area, and then running down back in under the trees, maybe a little bit on the low side of the gravel driveway. Just where there's no vegetation there, if you get faster runoff from the top of the septic mound, you don't have any vegetation to slow it down. Once it gets back in under the trees, it'll just start to run down to the lake and could possibly erode.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So,
Well, it doesn't look like there's any vegetation planned to be removed on that low side, just the high side where the septic is going.
Yeah, he said they're not gonna take, any trees down on the north side of the driveway. So basically, the limit of work is gonna be the erosion protection that's on the plan.
And the tree removal is gonna be to accommodate the system, the leach field itself. The tank and the pipes going from the tank and the pump chamber are gonna be located under the gravel drive. So they're still
Yeah,
gonna,
I just want, just with the trees being gone, I just want to make sure that we account for the water running down across the driveway.
This is
And again, it didn't, maybe there's lawns there, looking from the overhead, it didn't look like there was much understory growth under the trees, it looked like it was just leaf litter.
There's a low spot of 97, again in here.
Yeah, I do see that, so it's on the far side of the drive.
And then it comes up again over here, Rich. It's hard to see because of all the detailed wording and whatnot in through here, but it does come up if you were out there to look at, call it micro topography, but it does come up.
as it goes closer to the lake, it has almost a burning effect.
Correct.
I just want to make sure, it's very hard from the plan that was presented, I can't follow all the elevation lines. May want to try to get a little bit darker plan next time.
No, I mean, it's a good point.
Yeah, because we did have this problem with Jack's plans over on Spring Street. And the second question I have, I see a proposed sleeve under a portion of the driveway, but not under the entire driveway from the pump chamber out to the far side of the drive. Why is it only under that portion of the driveway?
That has to do with the water line crossing. It's sleeved 10 feet either side of that crossing.
Okay, so the sleeve's not to protect the main itself?
No. I mean, you're gonna have minimal traffic through there. One, maybe two cars. She lives by herself when she does come up here for the summertime, so it's not like it's crossing Peninsula Drive that you're gonna have traffic constantly over it.
That's pretty standard when a water line crosses a sewer line, it's sleeved.
And I did see a mention of a reserve system, but I don't see it on the plan.
It's basically a stone bed that's the same dimensions as the Presby sand that's shown on there, Rich.
Okay, so it's in the same basic area?
Yep, it's a conventional type system that Jim Gareffi wanted just noted on there.
and where is that? Where that is?
It's basically the outline of the
Same dimension.
the C33 sand.
So you can reuse that same area for reserve?
Well, when you use a Presby, Jim wants to show a conventional system there as well, just to show that a conventional system can be used there too, so that's just a...
And Jack, what's the bottom elevation of the tanks? I noticed where this is a forced main, the main's down a couple feet below ground level.
The invert into the septic tank, Rich, is 96.9, which is about a foot and a half or so below existing grade.
Okay. And what was groundwater?
Groundwater at the closest hole there, which was test hole 1016-2, we were at 30 inches.
Okay.
And I gave Matt a set of revised plans before the meeting tonight. Those two tanks are going to be monolithic tanks.
Okay.
It's just a change in the language, it's not a change in any of the engineering.
So the tanks are in the same location, it's just a little different design of
It's a solid tank with just the cap of it will have a bituminous ring around it instead of being in the middle of the tank.
And is that because the tanks are gonna be sitting close to or in the groundwater?
Correct.
Yeah, all right, that was the other question I had was, I was trying to get at that it looked like the tanks were actually sitting in groundwater.
Plus, they're gonna be H20 tanks, so you go from a 3 or 4 inch wall to a 6 inch wall on those tanks, so they're gonna be heavy duty.
Yeah, and then again, where they're in the driveway, you should have that, the H20s for driving over, so. All right, that answers the questions I had, thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
Good questions, yes?
I apologize for my ignorance. What's a Presby system?
Presby is a different type of filtering system. Typically, your septic systems are stone and pipe. You have a 4-inch distribution pipe that runs through the stone with perforations on the bottom. Presby pipe is about a 12-inch diameter pipe, perforated, corrugated, and it has multi-layers of filter fabric wrapped around the outside of it for more filtration or collection of any solids or suspended solids that may be in the liquid coming downstream.
So it's a different kind of leach field.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Aren't they usually stacked as well?
On top of each other?
Yeah.
No.
No? Pressed? Okay.
There's to be separate lines, usually gonna have 3 lines that run the whole length of that concrete. It's a concrete sand that they place it in, so it's a very porous sand. So it's basically a leach field, but it's a different type of filtering system before it gets into the sand.
And the requirements with regard to monitoring on the Presby system?
Just, it's a standard septic system. There is an inspection port that goes in, like all septic systems, that, you know, if somebody were to buy the house, they'd have to have a Title V inspection done, or if the homeowner, or whoever wanted to go out and inspect it to see if the water was starting to build back up into the leaching field at all, they could do that. There used to be, when the Presby's first came out, there was an annual inspection. They did away with those, I think, in 2010. So you don't have to inspect those anymore, on a yearly basis.
Any more questions or comments?
And really, again, I would say that a standard order should handle this just fine. It's kind of funny that Richard mentioned the water table, because actually Jack and I were just talking about that about an hour ago, about why the tanks had to be located within the 30 foot, and when we were looking around the plans, we did notice that if you move those out, you have to go deeper, which puts you into the water table, so.
Mr. Chairman, Matt, does the standard order would call for loam and seed?
Standard order always calls for loam and seed.
So we don't have...
It would outline that the erosion protection, and also I should let you know, our standard order, I've added a condition to it that would require that before the work proceeds, the hay bales, your erosion protection has to be survey located and staked out before it's laid. Because we've had issues where things were moved up and down, you know, because the plans were, you know, slightly misread and it led to a few issues.
Okay. I don't have an issue with that.
Have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we issue a standard order of conditions for the NOI.
Second.
Any further discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You all set?
Yep, we're ready for the next.
All right, Mr. Chairman, our second hearing is actually a public meeting pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. It is a public meeting on a request for a determination by La Mountain Brothers Incorporated for work at 453 Mass Ave. The work entails the installation of a septic system within the buffer zone of a wetland resource area. All the supporting documents have been on file in a timely manner at the Conservation Commission office for the public to review. And to anyone in the public that may be watching this still, a PDF of this file is also available upon request. And I I would like to let the commission know that I have been having all along a request or two for each meeting from someone from, on the abutters list for a PDF, because they wanted to look at what it was about. So that system actually works out quite well.
Great. Introduce yourself.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. You're gonna need to speak into the microphone.
So people can...
You can take that with you, too, it's portable.
Thank you, great. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my name is Jack O'Leary. I'm with SciTech Environmental, representing LaMountain Brothers, who would like to repair the septic system at the existing Gulf Station at Mass Ave and Chase Road. By the way, I found this, I didn't take my easel out because I found this one in the corner, if that's okay. I don't know if I'm not taking anyone else's. But we did file a request for determination. I do have the advertising fee check for whoever wants to take that, Matt. And I also have the slips for the notifications. Would you prefer the original slips or the paper copy of it?
Paper copy's fine.
Okay, great. And I also have a few 11 by 17s for you to look at, if that helps.
Just to clarify for the commission, the reason why I'm asking for the fee checks now is because, as you guys may recall, we had an issue with our budget where we've already gone through our advertising money. So as the ledger is sending me the bill, I am sending the applicants a bill for what the ledger is charging, which I just received today, and that's why Mr. O'Leary is bringing me his money.
Okay, thank you. The important part's taken care of then. Well, I can describe what we have in mind here. The existing site is at the corner. It's a big triangle with this edge towards abutting properties. We have a bordering vegetated wetland highlighted in green that begins and ends at a concrete box structure where a few drainage pipes discharge. That's been delineated. The closest point is the walls of the concrete box. When we draw the 100-foot buffer zone setback, that yellow line here, it includes a good part of the existing facility. The septic repair is mostly happening outside of the buffer zone. The proposed replacement leaching area is going to be in the landscaped island at the intersection. We have to bring this, fairly old, well, it's not that old, the system, but old enough, up to current code, so we have to bring in a external grease trap outside the buffer zone, a new septic tank also outside the buffer zone, and they all have to be piped together. And the thing that brings us before you is that we do have to connect from an existing manhole to that new septic tank and abandon an old connection. And that connection and the modification to that sewer manhole occur in the outer 50 feet of the buffer zone. Right here, everything in this area slopes away from the wetland and away from the wall that divides the wetland from the site. The wetland is down elevation pretty far below this grade. But that does shed runoff down towards a trench drain here and a trench drain here. And so what we propose for erosion control is to put some filter fabric below the trench drain grate during construction to ensure that no dirt gets into that. Though it is already paved, so there's not likely to be a lot of erosion. We didn't create any when we dug up our test pits out here.
The wetland area is actually, if you're looking right at the Dippin' Donuts, it's right next to the Dippin' Donuts where you have a thickly brushed area. That's the wetland resource area. It's down the bottom behind the retaining wall, behind the paved area.
Right.
So you've got a retaining wall and a paved area that actually are physical barriers to that wetland.
And it looks like the only work within the 100 is actually under the awning, so, I mean,
Yeah.
if we did get a rainstorm, I mean, it's not...
Well, I mean, he's within technical jurisdiction, everything else is, it's actually all flowing away from the wetland.
Yep, so that's it. It's a pretty simple project, so we'd appreciate your review, and we're hoping to get a negative determination. You might want to condition it to be based on this plan, the erosion control measures. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
Board Health seen this yet?
It's been submitted, haven't had any feedback yet. I should say it's been submitted to the Neshoba people. I assume they're going to review it and get it to the Board of Health. but they haven't reviewed it yet.
If anything moves, you come back and tell us.
We'll let you know.
Is any of the plumbing going under the existing convenience store?
Under it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's peculiar that whoever built this almost every fixture goes directly outside the wall into a manhole, so we have manholes all around the building, like so, picking up an old restroom, another old restroom, picking up a sink, and picking up the little sink behind the Dunkin' Donuts, and that's the one we're tying the grease trap into. Actually works out really well for the contractor, because it didn't have a grease trap to begin with. And most buildings have one pipe, and to put a grease trap in, you gotta separate the kitchen from that. And to go into an existing convenience store and dig up the floor is a big hassle. Here, we just have a manhole, we just tie right into it, and we're done.
That is convenient.
We're doing a number of these, and this is the only one that was built this way, and it's probably saves them 20, 30 grand.
What is, it's a little off conservation, but what is driving the requirement for the grease trap?
The Dunkin' Donuts is considered a restaurant use, even though there's no seating, and so the Title V requires an external grease trap at this point. I mean, subject to the Board of Health's interpretation, but the Shoba folks were pretty clear they wanted it, so.
My recommendation is for negative determination number 3, with stated finding of fact. Just to let you know, Jack, when we issue, under our bylaw, when we issue a negative determination, what we're doing now is we're issuing permit numbers.
Okay.
It would say RDA number, and it basically would be the date and the number hearing you were.
Okay.
That's how because that way when we drive by and look at it, we'll say, oh, that was from the December meeting of 2014.
Okay. Is that something we have to post, like a file number on the site?
Post it like a file number, yeah.
Okay, I get it, yep. Okay, makes sense.
Mr. Chair, I have no concerns with the current plan.
No questions. Richard, any comments, concerns?
Rich, you there? Yeah, Rich, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just had it on mute. I think the phone went to sleep. I have no questions on the project itself. Just one point, Matt, if you do have written recommendations, you should just read them into the record.
Yeah, I mean, I can read them formally. I have written notes on it. I did narrate my recommendation, which was essentially for if you got the folder right there, I can pull it out. The folder will be under the tab.
They should just be read in, that's all, if you do have your report handy.
Yep.
You got it.
My notes essentially note that it's a septic replacement. There's a small bordering vegetated wetland on the donut shop property. There are too many physical barriers between the proposed system and the wetland to be of concern for alteration of the wetland. It's the only logical locus for the pumps, parking, etc., that was accounted for on the plan. So my recommendation was for a -3 determination with a standard finding of fact, which would essentially call for erosion protection if deemed necessary, and for them to hang their RDA permit number sign out in public view. And that's it. For me, anyway.
Motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I recommend a -3 determination.
Second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Who seconded that one?
There it is.
Rich, you're hearing me okay, right?
Oh yeah, I'm hearing you fine, Matt. Yeah, my phone went to sleep and I had muted it. Takes a few keystrokes to get back to the unmute.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to make sure everything was good.
Yeah, no, this works perfect.
Okay.
And I did vote in favor of both of those if you didn't hear me.
Thank you for
Gotcha.
doing that, Richard.
On this continued insignificant change for 554 Lancaster Avenue, That's actually scheduled to reconvene at the March 1st meeting. I put it on the agenda inadvertently, but while we have it on the agenda, I want to let the commission know that Mr. Christopher did, yesterday submit a, narrative with calculations narrated by Alton Stone, who is the professional engineer in the project. That material is up on the cloud for view. If anybody wants a hard copy, if they can't print it off the cloud, I'll be more than happy to send them one.
So, do I understand this was not warned for tonight?
No, it was continued to the 1st. I just put it on by accident.
Okay.
But I think I think he did provide everything we wanted that we were waiting for.
Yeah, and he provided it timely, so I figured while I have it on here, I would just make note of that for you guys, that it's on the cloud for your review. So in the meantime, and then within the next couple of weeks, if you have any questions, just shoot me an email and I'll forward it right to Mr. Christopher, who can answer them.
The only comment I would make, and that it wouldn't be a showstopper if it was tonight, I would have been in favor of it, because the report looks good, has all the right stuff in it that we asked for. It doesn't have the flow rates, though. On the original plan, it had the flow rates for, I think, the 5 and 10-year storm. Based on what he did provide, it looks like it's a better condition.
You want the flow rates for which storms?
I want the equivalent of what was on the original print, which was the flow rates. So there were rates provided on the original print. The basic volume calculation is better here, so I would expect that to be better. But just so it's apples and apples, that we...
All right, I noted that down, and I'll ask him to send us that information.
Just two numbers.
But I thought we just asked them to send us new calculations on the capacity of the detention basin. I didn't think we were asking him to, like, reproduce his entire original submission.
We asked them for the new calculation, and the old calculation generated these two flow rates. So...
No, excuse me, we had asked him to confirm that the basin had at least the same storage that the original design did. The flow out of the basin isn't gonna change depending on the, size of the basin.
That's my recollection also.
Volume to make sure that their changes in the depth and the sides were, not going to impede on the storage space that they had, originally been permitted for.
Yeah, that was one of them, Richard, but the pipe also changed. The outflow size, the diameter of the pipe also changed.
Did he have that? I don't remember the size of the pipe changing.
I don't remember the size of the pipe changing either.
Okay, if it does...
Mr. Chair, we haven't opened this hearing yet.
Right.
I would recommend we table this discussion unless we're going to open the hearing.
Well, we were just trying to make sure that when we get to March 1st, if there's any more information that the applicant needs to bring with them, that we had it, so we don't get hung up. And I thought we had requested just an update of the calculation. The volume was certainly part of the calculation, because that was on the sheet, but the other thing that was on the sheet was the outflow rates, and the pipe diameter did change. If the pipe diameter didn't change, then we have everything we need. But if it did change, then I think we just need that last bit of information. I don't think it's any more work, I'm sure.
I could just discuss it with Mr. Stone in the morning. Appropriate.
Yeah.
That's right. But if anybody else has any questions, just send me an email individually, because it's information gathering. Okay?
Okay, so, motion...
You don't need to do a motion.
It's already done. It was already continued to March 1st, so good. So we're ready to move on.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, our next one is a continued public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. And the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. This is a continued notice of intent by Gokin Construction for work at 675 Reservoir Road. This work is for the demolition and construction of a single-family home, the installation of driveway and a septic system within the 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area. Again, all the applications and supporting documents have been available at the Conservation Commission for review, and emailing of PDF to the public if they so request is an option by emailing the Commission office. This is a part of a series of working meetings to come up with the come up to agreement on a mitigation plan, and then to hopefully conclude at the scheduled March 1st meeting with the notice of intent portion of that hearing.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just before we get started, I just have a question, because I've missed the last 2 meetings, I believe. The last meeting I was at was January 4th. Is that the last time this applicant has been in, or have they been in?
They were in on the last meeting.
They were?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think you just published the minutes today, so I'm not up to speed on that, that's why I want.
If you want, the recording of the meetings on the cloud too.
Okay.
Yeah, and what is, just for Tom's sake, what's the rule on that regarding continuations, and does he have to listen to that recording and then document that, or participate?
He should listen to it, and I'll get you a Mullins form when you've listened to that meeting.
Okay.
Okay? 'Cause we haven't technically gone to the notice of intent portion yet, we're still in the enforcement portion. So, he's still okay on the notice of intent portion. When he does the Mullins form, and I'll get you a Mullins form, and just listen to that, because he's kept up with it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he is. I just want to make sure we get all the right boxes checked off so he can participate. Okay, so thank you for the introduction, Matt, because this is a continuation of a sort of working sessions to get to a good solution that we're all happy with.
Hello, for the record, Chris Aaronson with Hannigan Engineering, on behalf of Paul Grogan with Grogan Construction. We were supposed to have a site walk on last Saturday, I believe, but due to weather conditions, unfortunately, it wasn't able to happen. Prior to that, I had sent Matt Morrow a PDF of the restoration plan with the comments from the previous meeting. I have a few copies here if everybody would like to see one. I think I should have enough.
You got one for everybody?
I think 6.
Give that to Ken.
I'll share it, Matt.
I'll look on the first.
A few note changes. We did plant several core deciduous trees in the area of the original infraction to help replicate the loss of those trees. We are proposing doing additional core tree plantings and addition with multiple pine trees and small balsam fir plantings within the area, within the 30-foot buffer, in 2 locations, being near the dock and within the area that was brush hogged and cleared out in that area too. Just looking for some feedback on this, see if we're all in agreement to the extent of this restoration. In addition to that, we also are showing the reestablishment of that original floodplain that was inadvertently filled during the work that was performed on the site.
So, Rich, excuse me, Rich, were you gonna say something?
No, I just wondered if you had put the updated PDF he emailed you on the cloud yet.
I believe you were also CC'd on that one too, Rich.
Double check, because I know I put a bunch of stuff up on the cloud, so.
I believe it would have been dated the 3rd or so, I believe.
What was the dating on it, Chris?
I want to say the 3rd-ish.
3rd-ish. I have something from the 1st, but that would have been on the meeting that we had on the 1st. Yeah, if you have it, Matt, if you can just forward it to me. Because I did not receive anything.
I see something here on the 1st.
Yeah, but that would have been the presentation for the meeting on the 1st.
Yeah, Matt, are you saying that this drawing is on the cloud?
No, I'm trying to find,
Has anyone from the commission been to site since these trees have been planted?
These trees have...
Oh, I thought okay.
Just trying to get to what the restoration plan would be.
Mr. Chairman, if I may address this question first. I'm pulling up a Google map, and I see a whole pile of trees sitting here, and this whole section, and it doesn't appear that the trees are really moving up anywhere close to where they were sitting before.
I believe this is exactly what we discussed at the last hearing.
Rich, I found something from the first that matches the plan he has here that I'm forwarding to you.
Okay, well, the first was something they would have sent while we were discussing prior to the meeting on the first. Did Chris draw anything since our last meeting?
Yes, the plans are different.
Plans dated February 1st, 2017.
Okay, so then he hasn't updated anything since our last meeting.
Not that we had before right now.
Okay.
So it does, address some of what we discussed, trying to get out where those trees and stumps were moved out along the, between the lake and the affected area. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, a total of 4, so I get the code right here.
Core deciduous.
Core deciduous trees been planted in that area. Is that intended to replace the number of trees that were there before, or what?
Yeah, it's meant to help reestablish that tree line that was there originally.
Most of those trees are beyond 50.
But just to reestablish that canopy in that area.
Then we have that area to the little triangle area back closer to the brook.
Yeah, this is a little, this one's not, this one's different.
I'll double check.
Yours is different.
I thought I had sent this on the 3rd.
I'm looking at all my emails on the 3rd now, so.
So maybe you could help us with, just sort of summarize what you think this is replicating, how you came up with this plan, how many
From
you
the,
think were affected, or however you sort of made this.
so, with those trees, the core deciduous trees within the front of the, along that 30-foot buffer, that's to help reestablish that canopy in that area. We are planting a few extra some pine vegetation screening trees along the property line to help reestablish a little bit there too. The areas along near the dock are meant to help reestablish and buffer up the biomass in that area. That was our intention behind that.
I'm not familiar with the dock. Is that this existing boat launch area? Is that what you call
Yes,
the dock?
yes, sorry. That existing boat launch. So the additional plantings in that area, along with the area of the debris that was removed in that little triangle section, a little closer to wetland flag number 46, just to help reboost that biomass in that area, which, in looking, it's going to be significantly more than was there originally.
Yeah, Chris, there's nothing here.
There's nothing there?
I have two different email boxes, and I looked in all of them, and there's nothing here.
I'll double check again. I'll get back in the office. I apologize for that.
Well, if you're using an Outlook proxy, because I know it's happened to me, you think you send something and it's still hanging in your draft. It's still hanging in the draft box.
Okay.
And it doesn't happen with every email, just once in a while in the email you send with an attachment.
Yep.
It'll hang right in the drafts folder.
Yeah, it might be a little, it's probably a large email too. But I apologize for that.
Yeah, Rich, the plan I have is different than the plan that was sent on the 1st, and there are no emails that showed up on the 3rd.
Yes, right there.
Okay.
Let me try to send it.
Yeah, if you can try to send it to them. Mr. Gogan has it on his phone, so.
I don't know how good it'll send.
Which is, others can see it, so that's fine. We're not approving or disapproving anything tonight, we're just looking at it for informational value.
Right. Yeah, when I look at them, just trying to take one area at a time, the 30-foot area is sort of reference between the 30 and 50 foot. When I look at the pictures, it looks like there were certainly more than 4 trees there, and they were pretty substantial trees. So how did you come up with the 4 being a good number there?
just more even spacing, just trying to fill in that area a little bit. Still up to interpretation, but from the pictures that we saw the other day, feel that would be sufficient for that area. Eventually, they're all gonna grow back. The trees in those areas were tall pines, so we're gonna help try to rebooster that area over time.
I think that area was not pine.
What size trees are you proposing in that area?
They'll be up to 1.5 to 2 inch calipers,
What is that? Is that diameter or something?
diameter.
1.5 to 2 inch diameter. I mean, there are at least 6 trees here that were over 10 inches in diameter, and they're not pines.
Well, the 4 trees that he has proposed are deciduous trees.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just trying to correct
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
the statement was made that they were pines.
Matt, is it possible to put that information on the screen? I know you have pictures before.
It's, what it's gonna do is gonna time me up from being able to take minutes and keep him on the phone.
Can you put those up, Carl?
Yeah, where's the other end of this cable? Somebody over there, Jack. I think they dragged up on the stage last night.
And I'm sorry, what note does each tree reference, just so I can quick, instead of...
Yep, sorry. Matt, what's your email? LCC?
Tom, the core tree note is number 10.
At
lunenburgonline.com.
Understory is 13, and the pine plantings are 14.
How, the trees you're talking about, 1.5 or whatever, how tall would they be? Roughly?
They'd probably be 8 feet tall, maybe, 2 inch caliber.
Yeah, usually 8 to 6 feet tall.
6 or 8 feet.
What, those deciduous trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard suggested they be 1.5 to 2 inch.
Yeah, I'm just trying to correlate roughly to a height, probably about 8 feet.
I would say, yeah.
That range is probably about-
Yeah, maybe even a little bit bigger than that, because it's gonna be, that's it, this height usually, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
I thought one concept, and I thought Richard, remember, is that you saying that we're trying to reproduce the biomass. And that if we replaced I forget your example, a 16-inch tree would be replaced with 4-inch trees. Can you help remind me of what your thought was? Because it made a lot of sense in terms of just a methodology to get to an answer here.
So basically, we're looking at getting Richard to get a tree cover. Rich, can
Are you
you
on mute again?
I can hear, correct?
We were just talking about trying to, the comments you had made about reproducing the biomass. And I'm looking, right now, in that particular area, which is one of the more sensitive areas, was, closer than, certainly within the 50-foot range, of replacing, 4 to 6 trees, let's just say that for now, 4 to 6 trees that were pretty substantial in diameter.
Matt, can you just read that?
With, and the proposal is 4 trees that are 1.5 inches in diameter.
Yeah, I mean, I envision definitely not a one-for-one tree replacement. There would certainly have to be more than that to put back, again, that mass that was previously there. Because you can't put in 4 60-foot trees, but you can put in maybe 8 10-foot trees and some understory growth, 15 or 20 plants underneath that. Unfortunately, they had presented a plan a few weeks ago that was a little bit more in tune with what I saw, but when they came to the hearing, that's not what they presented to the commission.
I see. Yeah,
And you can see what their presentation is tonight. I mean, I can't tell where they're looking to put stuff in.
yeah, the area, if you look in, I think even at the old map, I think this affected area was highlighted in even the prior plan, right? There was no
Yeah.
trees in it, but it was bubble area.
It was
right?
shaded to show that there was plantings. in the
Yeah, so
original
if you look even at the plan you have, Richard, in that 30 to 50-foot area, there was a, area that indicated that it wasn't a disturbed zone. So what they've now are proposing is within that same disturbed zone, in the 30 to 50-foot range, 4 deciduous trees that are pretty equally spaced across that zone.
Excuse me, Rich, he just emailed me the plan, So I forwarded it to you.
Oh, super, I'll wait for it to pop up.
So, I mean, in this picture, the trees we're talking about are, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, one here.
We're all
two
beyond
there.
the 50-footer though.
Not the last meeting we talked about, anything beyond the 50-footer.
Rehashing what we went over at the last hearing in detail. Looked at the trees and picture, there were 7 trees.
7 trees. Okay, so I'll accept 7 that were within the 50-foot range. Yes. So that's what we're talking
There
about.
was no one, that was all periodically mowed grass, and that wasn't kind of a natural area. It had the trees, but no shrubs or saplings or anything else.
Yeah, there was no, these are misleading, that's all along the shoreline, that stuff. Behind there was just trees and gravel and whatever the heck was there. But it's the trees we're talking about. So we agree that, at least you acknowledge that there were 7 trees in this particular area that we're focused on.
I can't find the
Thank you.
PDF on my attachment.
And those trees, as you can see, are, are pretty substantial diameter. What would you say they were in diameter?
Probably, I think there were some that were probably only 8 or 9 inches, there was some probably up to 15 inches, so
Yeah, okay.
14 inches, something like that.
So they're generally above 8 inches, though.
It'll show up on his.
Mr. Chairman, just for my own personal opinion on this, and I don't mean we want to go around and give our opinions or whatever, but I think that, starting sort of maybe at the bottom of the plan, working around from my personal preference, I think that, what they've done down by the brook to replicate that area is certainly better than what was on the last plan. I don't think there was anything on the last one. So, I mean, to me, that looks a lot better than what we had before. I don't think that area really changed much, the next one up by the boat dock or boat launch area from the plan before.
Did it just to put that?
That didn't change significantly. Our intention, with those 4 trees is also to start, not to replace it in place, but to relocate it to an area that was disturbed due to debris that was there by the previous owner. So we're trying to enhance in other areas while trying to also maintain some sort of restoration in areas that were disturbed. That's our intention behind this.
Yeah, so but this area, I think Ken's talking about this area.
Yeah, that area didn't change too much now.
And then we've added the trees along the property line.
Yep.
Which I think is good. And then my personal opinion on this area that we're talking about, this bubble area, there were 7 major trees there. I mean, I'd like to see at least double what he has on the plan. I mean, he's got 4, I'd like to see a minimum of 8 for my personal preference.
Good input, thanks, Ken. Anyone else, I think it's a good idea to go around and share ideas on input.
First, I think, I appreciate this is the lower end of the stream. I appreciate you put some trees in here. You come back and put more vegetation in. However, there seems to be a dearth of trees or ink in this entire section. And when I look at it from what was sitting on Google, and there was a whole pile of trees there before. I can't,
No, you can't tell, that's the canopies from the road.
that's the canopy, but it's
Why
like a canopy.
Mr. Chairman, this is, just a question, are we gonna rehash everything? This is what we discussed at the last hearing. We left the last hearing with specific instructions from the commission on where we were gonna put this restoration area, and now we're discussing where it's gonna be all over again. That's,
Excuse me.
Well, that's where we are, sir.
Yeah, what we've done is
Sorry, but we
we're
are.
gonna keep going over and working with you to come up with a plan that's satisfactory to this group. And so in this particular case, when we left, I was under the impression you were gonna try and throw some more vegetation in this particular section where it clearly is showing there's something being vegetated, one way, shape, or form. It looks like trees to me. And so my concern is, why don't we throw a few more trees in there? The fact that I appreciate the fact that we got the 50-foot line on that, over the street. But this particular area is not.
So this is an ortho picture that was taken during the spring, or I believe of April 2016. What you're looking at in your picture is a summertime where everything's in full bloom, everything is chaotic.
It's the same
Yeah.
picture.
We also have to recognize that we're also trying to incorporate this into a final design for the site. If we were to do this with a normal notice of intent, we would have requested those trees to be cut down. This is within an area of the house.
Yeah, excuse me, but you didn't, so we are where we are.
I acknowledge
So we're
that.
trying to get out.
We're trying to,
They even agreed, anything beyond the 50 would have been agreed.
Yes.
I am particularly interested in making vegetation occur within at least 30 feet, I prefer 50. But you've put nothing, and there was something there. It's clear by the photos, there's something there. And if you come to us and ask us to, I want to chop down trees within 30 feet so I can what? I would not have supported that. So I won't support this unless we get something in there.
And where? So, I can't see where you're pointing at.
this area.
This whole section in here.
In the area where it says old tree line?
There was nothing touched.
In that area, there wasn't pre-existing access to the
I
program.
guess I'm confused. Why does it look like
There's a road
right
right
on the
here.
photo?
There's a road right here that goes right to the beach. And there's a road that goes right to here.
Is that road indicated there?
It's indicated. This is how people got their boats in the water.
Is that road indicated on your drawings? All I can see is.
It was a
photos.
clearing.
Okay.
This, what he has
You know
is,
how I'm gonna.
So let's go back to, what we're trying to do here, just to keep some order, is go get a sense of the commissioners now, so that you at least can see where everyone's standing, and we can get an idea of how to proceed. Mr. Pease?
I agree with what Ken said. I do recall that at the last meeting, we had a detailed discussion, you did a slideshow, we had a detailed discussion about where they would put trees. We didn't say anything about asking them to put trees in this area here last time. They offered to put trees down here, you know, as sort of an offset. I agree with Ken's comment about, you know, there were a lot more trees than four there before, and so I think there should be more trees there. I mean, to me, these trees that go along the border, I'm not sure what it's nice that they put them there, but they're not doing anything, you know, for our environmental concerns. But I also agree with the applicant that we did go over this in detail at the last meeting, about, you know, where would they put trees, we gave them some direction. To me, they came back, and to start bringing up new areas tonight is, I feel, I don't know why we spent the time last meeting, you know, if we're just gonna start over again tonight. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pease. Tom?
Yeah, looking at this, and again, I apologize, I wasn't at the last hearing, but I tend to agree with Bob and Ken. These two areas seem fairly sufficient to me. This does seem pretty light as far as the revegetation goes. One of my concerns, and I assume you guys addressed it last meeting, but I'm gonna ask it just out of curiosity, is this hill? Because there was a lot of vegetation on that, and it sounds like we've kind of put the limit of work to the revegetation to the 50-foot buffer. What are we doing to maintain the erosion on the hill? What was the conclusion last meeting?
So, it's a good lead into mine, unless you want to say some more, Tom.
That's all, that was my only comment.
So, my input would be, again, similar to Ken's. I think what you've done back here was as discussed. And then up here, there was really no change, but there was no discussion of change there, at least at that point. Now, we understand, these are discussions back and forth, and so new things come up, new ideas. I agree with Bob, the trees over here are good, and it provides some additional biomass on the line. It doesn't really, you know, replace what we had, which was buffer between the land and the lake. It's a line of trees perpendicular to the lake, so I'm not sure of the value other than it'll look nice and create a line. Certainly the area in the 30 to 50-foot buffer zones, I agree with the rest of the sentiment here. there were 7 trees there that were 8 inches or greater. To replace it with 4 1.5-inch trees, I think is a good start, but is way off the mark. I think we need something, as what I heard from, from Richard, that if we've got I'll stick with those numbers, a 16-inch tree that was taken down and shouldn't have taken down, and wouldn't have been approved if they'd taken down in that area of the lake, then it should be replaced by something with similar biomass, so maybe 4-inch trees or something, but the number is way too low. It's not even close in my mind. But the other point was to your point, Tom, and why I appreciate your letting me jump in. At the end of the other meeting, we did not discuss everything. At the end of the other meeting, I said specifically that I was concerned that there was nothing addressing all of the trees that were taken down below the 102 elevation, that there was nothing in that plan, and that I was expecting some mitigation for all of those trees, and there was a lot of very substantial trees there, and I don't see anything that addresses that. So I think otherwise, Bob, you're right. I think we talked about everything else. They're going in the right direction. These 4 trees are not sufficient, but I don't see anything here that addresses that whole hill of significant trees that was wiped out. So, now, yes. Can you come up where, microphone, please?
Really what I left with for an understanding last time with the consensus of the commission was that that area that you I remember you expressing concern about it. The commission as a whole, the consensus was they weren't worried about that area. They wanted the restoration in the areas we've shown. The only thing when I look at this, it's different than I remember from the discussion at that meeting was in the area where the 4 hardwoods are, I thought we were talking 8 to 10 in that area is what I remember Rich suggesting of the 1 inch, the 1.5 to 2 inch caliper hardwoods. Everything else, I believe, is exactly what we talked about.
Yeah, up to that hill. I think as you say, I think a lot more trees in that area, but that hill, I still don't see, and you can take what you want from the meeting. I can't make your mind up for what you hear. But when you hear discussions, there was no vote of concession taken, there were no votes taken, so anything else you take from that is at your own peril, quite frankly. So we're having that discussion tonight, and certainly there's at least 2 members already that have voiced concern that there is no mitigation in this plan for the trees that were removed from that hill.
Yeah, and just to expand on that, my concern is, being at the property, I don't know, maybe a month ago now, I think just before, I think I went on the 3rd, January 3rd. What you have proposed for all, what I'll call the flat down here by the water, with the exception of maybe doubling the amount of trees here, I'm okay with that. My concern now is reestablishing this hill because it's so steep. There was clearly a lot of vegetation on that hill before. So I just want to know, how are we going to ensure we're not going to have erosion issues on that hill?
At the meeting, the first meeting that you were at, the commission voted to require restoration in the 30-foot, what was disturbed in the 30-foot buffer zone and not beyond that. That was a vote.
The meeting I was at, I actually made the motion that we were going to fine $300 per day until the front hill is stabilized, starting today. So we should have issued fines. So that was a concern of mine.
That was 2 days worth. Yeah.
And that wasn't taken care of.
But we never said we weren't going to not touch that area, because we...
No, the commission voted to require the restoration of the 30-foot buffer.
Can we confirm that? Was there a vote taken to only restore the 30-foot buffer?
Actually, I believe we were discussing everything within the 50-foot buffer. I don't think it was the 30, because their limit of work was outside the 50-foot buffer. So, and just now that I have the floor for a second, I do agree with Tom and Carl and the others. There should be some more vegetation put in where the 4 trees are standing alone now. I do see the area off to the right of that. You do have some understory and some white pine in there. I think that type of plant population should be in the area where the 4 trees are. I do agree with the way you have it, although I did notice you stopped at the 30-foot buffer on the right side for restoration. and I was happy to see that you did a little bit more down in the back, where it was kind of nasty looking.
So I think we're getting closer to consensus. I think I'm hearing that the two areas over on the right are looking pretty good. And we have pretty general consensus that we've done a good thing there. I also hear consensus that there are too few trees in that 30 to 50-foot buffer area. And I don't hear exact consensus on whether it's certainly not 4, whether it's 8, 12, or more. We're replacing 7 substantial trees. So I think we're still not there, and I haven't heard anything that, would give you clear direction of what to do, other than we need something better.
Well, my recommendation would be we add 5, we just replace what's there, and let's put 5 big trees in. You said you could get some bigger trees. Let's get some 4 to 6 inch trees, and I'd like to see 5 of them right there. That way, once they do get tall, you're gonna just, right in the same area.
We're talking about.
In the bubble. I'd like to see 5 big trees, that way you'll still have a nice clear view. It's not gonna be blocking the lake.
Right, it's a view, and that was a whole recreation area, had a swing set, slide, it was all mowed nice.
So that way it's not overly vegetated at the, your height level, it'll be nice and tall. That's my recommendation, just get some bigger trees in there. And that's my personal recommendation. So I'd say 5, 4 to 6 inch trees in that area. But that's one member's recommendation.
Yeah, and hopefully you understand each person may be different, but any comments on Tom's suggestion or that direction?
I would support Tom's suggestion. I mean, I said all along, back when you guys were voting for the fine, that I'd rather see them put that money into putting in trees that require one of those big trucks with the spade on the back of it, than putting it into fines, because I thought that would be appropriate, given the devastation that happened to that area, and given the length of time it takes for a tree to grow, that I thought, the kind of trees that coming in the back of one of those big trucks with a spade in the back would be appropriate. I'd rather see the money spent there than fines.
I think the 5 to 6 inches or so is in that direction.
We can get together, we can appreciate it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would agree with Tom and Bob that the bigger trees, the better. I mean, they're obviously going to provide more of an overstory. So I think that, to me, is more appropriate than what we're looking for. So if you go 5 or 6 of the bigger size trees. I do just want to point out in the notes, they've got in all of the restored areas, they're going to place 2 inches of leaf litter and pine needles over the restored area also. So I mean, that also goes back toward sort of stabilizing those areas and bringing them back to more of a natural state. So I think that in that area specifically, the bigger trees, in my mind, would be better.
My concept, I could be mistaken, is I thought the way we were going to proceed is this was just sort of like getting them to revegetate out here within the buffer zone, and then they were going to come in with a notice of intent for what they wanted to do here, and that all bets are off for what we would be asking to do, when they came in with the notice of intent, because they want to put a house here and all this other stuff. Correct. I could be mistaken.
That was my understanding was too.
Well, no, the restoration was supposed to be part of the notice of intent, and you wanted it phased. The first phase was the restoration. It's all under one filing, and the second phase is the
So we're really
the
talking
house construction.
about is restoration now, right? Right. Okay. So we're talking about, but just to follow your thought, though, because I'm not sure, were you thinking that when it came back, if that was the process, that we would actually be at that point asking to add vegetation?
I don't know what they're proposing.
But let's assume they're proposing no vegetation. Would you be, so I'm just trying to get your thought process, because it's an I never thought of it that way.
I guess it depends on what you talk about vegetation. I assume there's going to be lawn area and...
Yeah, it would be lawn and seeded.
The whole thing would be seeded, yeah.
So I mean, there is going to
Are you
be...
thinking more city than that, Bob?
It's, the whole top of the thing was covered with trees before.
Right.
It's now an open field.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I was thinking that there'd be some trees up there.
That's what I thought I heard. That's why I wanted Matt to dig into it. So but I think if we're looking for trees because of that hill, that's now, that's not later.
Okay. And
Because we're talking about all the restoration now, not, some now and then some when they come back again.
Mr. Chairman,
So it's just to close that though, so, trying to read your mind, I'm kind of hearing you're saying you agree with Tom and I, and I didn't hear from Richard, I don't put words in his mouth, that we still haven't addressed that hill of trees that's been removed.
you are correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I am full of more trees up the hill, absolutely, let's make it all part of one package. When I left the last meeting, I was under the impression, as I believe Richard was, that we would be vegetating all the way up to 50 foot, and I was believing that we had a swath that was going to be covered. I did not believe that we were going to decide that something in the middle was not appropriate. I know there's going to be another meeting, I will do some research, and I will bring back pictures that allow us to determine whether or not there was vegetation in there before that,
Which area are you talking about, Jack, just so we all understand?
Right around the boat ramp area.
Around where it says...
Yeah, and more particularly right down through here, I stopped through that area with Rich, and there were some trees there, and I know there were some stumps that had been pulled and taken out in that particular area, and that's what's bothering me, is we're not maintaining this.
That area where we saw the stumps was down in this area here that we were doing the restoration.
We thought had been pulled right over by that guitar area, but Chuck, let me go back and check my pictures.
Well, that's where we have the restoration, right up to within 10 feet or so of it. 15 feet of the boat ramp there.
Chuck, what are you thinking there? We essentially, we're basically following this line, it's a 30 to 50 foot line, and that this particular area, there was vegetation, and I believe there were some stumps that were pulled out, and there were some trees.
on this side.
And I'm not completely sure, but I'm going to pull that out. But at the same time, I'm very interested in protecting this stream.
The trees are still there, though.
If the trees are still there, then great.
You see how that hill there?
So maybe, Jack, maybe that's, we wanted to go on a sidewalk, maybe that's something we need to do on a
I have
sidewalk.
a picture of that area from May before I cleared it.
Okay.
Chuck? Is this the area we're talking about?
Yes. Is it around, that's around that bend though, it's further down that bend.
That's right, there's the boat ramp right here. Boat ramp's right here.
On the other side of that.
Oh, the boat ramp's right here.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. Further down.
So you see a couple of trees that's still there, the world, some, so
You're storing those.
And there's nothing,
So you didn't take these out?
Those are all
Those are still there.
and there wasn't anything.
There wasn't anything here.
There wasn't anything.
Jack, I think that's...
That was taken on May 31st.
Now, let me-
According to my timeline, the initial violation was August 11th. So these were taken a few months before you touched any
And I think
trees.
that's maybe the stumps that Jack is thinking of.
That little triangle area, that's also where debris was removed.
Right.
That's right here.
Which is why it looks disturbed and...
The debris is visible right
Through
here.
here.
See? Debris is visible right here.
That's some other debris, I think. That area with the triangle stuff is over.
Oh, there was a ton of debris in there. Yes.
So you're not adding, okay, now, the tree, this is wrapping around here, right? You're saying none of
Right
the...
here, from here to here.
Yeah, you're standing right here looking through. So the trees that were sitting here are still there, they haven't been touched.
Those have not...
Nothing's been touched on that
Okay.
area.
The only thing that's been done in that area is the removal of yard debris and wood planks
Okay.
and other miscellaneous trash that was...
You have some other angles on that map, too. You got a pile of them. Okay, keep sliding over. So here's this. Here's that.
But if it helps, I can thicken that. We can add more trees in there, like you're saying, on that tree line to make it more of a natural fencing.
If it'll be, if you'll be just
So. that-
No,
that's a good-
I'm with you on that.
So the trees are still there. Yeah, good, okay, and these are ones, so if you could throw some stuff.
So here's where the ramp is, so if you throw a few things in here, where it was bare, it'll go to what Rich was talking about with the, adding the biomass in an area that would, as both Jack, Rich, and Rich were saying, in an area which would benefit that part.
Behind that triangle.
Rich, it's the area right by the boat ramp, right where right where the pond begins. Remember that part around the bend where the pond begins? It's that area, and from the pre-existing photos I found that Jack had provided to me on that stick that he gave me yesterday, and they're on the cloud, by the way, if you look under 675. You'll see pictures from May 31st, and then you'll see the pictures after it's cut. And so it gives you a good idea of pre and post.
Yes.
Perfect. No, good. Well, that's fine. And then we added.
So I think if we go in that area, just before we hit that, the existing, ramp, the paved ramp area, and plant some trees in there, it'll fill in that spot that's been habitually bare, it'll restore some of the biomass and protect a more sensitive area where the river and the pond meet.
And the track, right. You're gonna want something there, you're gonna wanna keep tearing into that anyway.
Right. Did you happen to find them on the cloud, Rich?
Well, I was still looking at the plan, they're still proposing to leave the existing boat launch open.
Seed, bushes,
Yep.
trees all over the house. You guys wanna see that too now?
Oh, whatever you can show, I'm sure it's gonna help.
But if you go into the cloud, under tonight's meeting folder, you'll see a folder that says 675. When you open that to the main page, you're gonna see two pictures that show green right in the middle, and those were taken May 31st. Apparently, they must have been when, Chuck, you were doing your delineation out there, because they see your auger.
Yep, no, that was,
Yeah, no, I had some through those pictures on the cloud already.
Okay.
so I think what you guys are just talking about, if I look at the prints, we're talking about almost connecting those two areas that you're revegetating.
Right, well, there's a big section there now, but it's scarce, so we'll just, we'll keep it all, so it makes it all look the same. I think it'll look a lot prettier anyway.
And then just for the record, but you're gonna keep that boat ramp.
We're gonna keep the boat ramp, yeah.
Which I'm okay with, obviously.
I mean, that's existing.
Yeah, I'm just,
That's existing.
yeah, just for the record, so people know that the boat ramp's staying.
So that's our intention. The hillside will be loam seeded, so that'll be stabilized from erosion,
And we do have a,
Well, yeah, let's take one step at a time. So we have some consensus on adding some trees in that gap. Let's go back to the one where we were making some real headway, that 30 to 50-foot area. There was a suggestion that Tom made, and at least one or two of the commissioners have chimed in, to add something 6 or so 4 to 6 inch trees. If the,
6 or 5.
I said 5. I said 5 4 to 6 inch trees was my recommendation.
Right where the 4 trees are
Ken said
proposed now?
6.
Yeah, so maybe just have.
So do you want to add them in addition, or substitute for what you got?
Substitute.
So there'd be
for what they
5
got.
total in that
5
area.
total along the front, nice big tall trees.
Yep. Then
4
we'll
to 6 inch diameter.
then we're providing the biomass that was lost.
There could be some understory planting in amongst those, just not 5 naked trees standing out there.
What'd you say?
Well, that's a recreation area, so we want people's gonna walk through underneath the trees like it was
Yeah,
before.
the problem is if you just have them like that, eventually you'll have kids screwing stuff into them and hammocks, and there really should be a little bit of understory in there to provide a natural replacement to what was there.
I mean,
Then I can't walk to the beach.
But you can certainly go with chokecherry and clethra and blueberry and things like that.
I have no access to the beach.
It's not gonna block the house view. The house is gonna be 8 to 10 feet above that area anyways.
No, I'm saying access to the beach when I walk to the beach.
Yeah, Richard, we've kind of gone back now. What I thought we were suggesting was that those be in addition to begin with, which would create, a better, fill in here, because there were 7 to begin with, some substantial ones. There was no understory there, though, Richard.
They don't have any on their proposal, but again, I would recommend that there's understory plantings in there with those trees.
Okay. I'm trying to get educated here, because, again, my starting point is sort of the prior condition that we're trying to restore as best we can without, and still let people live. And what was there was pretty well documented, is some, pretty 7 good-sized trees that were spaced out pretty nicely, and nothing but really playground underneath, and that's what the applicant's looking for. So I'm trying to understand and get educated by you, why would we want more understory than there was before?
Because we walk down to the beach, it's gonna get trampled on.
It's just gonna become a high-traffic area. Before, I don't think it was necessarily a high-traffic area, and there was still, green underneath it. It wasn't just a sand bed, or it wasn't just a lawn.
Yeah, it was scrub grass-ish, but, there was.
Yeah, and again, to protect the trees so that they're just not out there for people to have hammocks off of and running a lawnmower into. If something happens and you do happen to have a tree that doesn't make it, at least now you still have some mass there that will take its place.
Well, just one comment on that. In his notes, he does have kind of a plan here to monitor that everything's, I forget what note it was. That all the restoration should be inspected each June and September for 2 full growing seasons by the wetland scientists or other individual approved commission. So we are gonna be able to monitor that everything takes. And, there was a swing set and everything down there before, so I do think that was kind of a recreation.
It absolutely was.
So I think to make him do a bunch of plantings there, I think if he already agreed to do a little bit more on the side, that might have, even more so that was there before. I think replacing that front with some nice big trees, so he still has a recreation area, I think that's what he had existing.
Again, it's my recommendation. I'm only one member, but...
Right, yeah, no, and it's good, and we appreciate that, Richard, and I think, the applicant has to sort of take all this information and integrate it into something that they think the entire commission can live with, right? So, you can't totally pick and choose, one guy says this and go, because it won't pass a vote. Right. So that's your tough job, is to sort through this. So, but because my feeling on these trees and is that, what you have, I was thinking in terms of those, let's call it 5, take Tom's number, substantial trees were going to be in addition to these, because we're still not equaling the biomass of the 7 that were there. We've got
With that point,
1.5-inch trees, and
at that point, we're trying to replace that biomass in other areas, just not that one area. That was our intention behind it, such as putting in the additional triangle area and everything.
Well, as we've discussed, we're never gonna replace instantly the biomass. We're basically setting the stage that throw it down the road.
yeah, right, oh, no, even what we're talking, even 6 of those trees, plus the 4 there, are replacing the biomass for probably 20 years.
Carl, may I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
In the area we were looking at in the photos where we agreed to plant some trees just before you have that ramp, why don't we add the shrub layer right there? It's not gonna be a high-traffic area. The traffic area is gonna be on the boat ramp that you're leaving open.
I think that,
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, and
So we have trees and all the shrubs in between.
just
so people can
for
walk in.
protection of your property too, having the shrubs are actually gonna stabilize that.
It will actually.
The soil there better than the trees will.
It'll actually be a better protection for that area.
Concerned about the height in which, if we put a pile of trees, tall trees and small trees, the survivability of the smaller trees is not going to be great. And therefore, you were recommending some sort of uniform height, is that what you were kind of saying?
No, I had, basically, I picked trees for that understory plantings that are very shade tolerant. The fir is, and then Richard asked to add on a couple hardwoods, choke cherry and hop hornbeam, which are both understory hardwoods. They never get very big, but they survive and thrive in fairly dense shade. So that was, and there are shrubs that will survive under those conditions too.
I think just a natural viewing barrier between the other side of that and the other side of the stream might be beneficial too.
Yeah, let's not go there. Yeah, let's not. Okay, so, the sense right now is to get 5-ish substantial trees there. Like I said, I would like to see what's there, plus those 5, but 1.5-inch trees to me.
Well, we
I
do
can't
have
imagine how good
we do have a landscaping plan that's gonna be,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be, loom and seed and bushes and stuff everywhere, and little trees up near the driveways. I mean, if I show that, that's plantings also.
Yeah.
I didn't think we
Yeah,
were
I'm-
talking about landscaping plantings. Or are we?
But that would also be more entailed towards the notice of
That would
intent
be, I
portion.
think that's probably more the notice of intent, and I...
That's the second
and I trust
phase.
you.
That would be the second
Make this a
phase.
nice looking
Oh, it's gonna be
place,
beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a
So-
beautiful lot, you're not gonna...
So the restoration would essentially show what we're showing now with the, embellishments that we're talking about now. And when we come back for the notice of intent, it would show the plantings, the landscaping and
Additional
everything,
landscaping.
which would help re-establish that biomass that was on the hill that would be, maintained and whatnot. So that's where I'm thinking we're going. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm way off the
I think
mark here.
we're making a lot of progress. And, I think with your, and I appreciate your willingness to look at 4 to 6 inch diameter trees.
Absolutely.
So that's a huge step, I think. My personal last thing still is, I'm not totally comfortable that addresses all of the trees that went off that slope below the 102, which was the limit of work. I mean, the order of conditions was quite clear that 102 was the limit of work. So there was a lot of biomass removed that I don't think is really replicated here yet, but that's my personal opinion.
But we also could address that under the notice of intent part with the
Well, that's what
landscape.
Bob was saying, and
We also have to...
I would envision something more than some, low ground cover shrub to do that.
I would-
Replace that, so landscaping to me is not big trees.
And I kind of agree with Carl. I would like to see, I'm happy with everything down here on what I'm just going to keep calling the flat area by the water. I would like to see, as part of the restoration plan, just a few, let's call it, somewhere between like maybe 3 or 5 big trees, just on this side. Not necessarily the front. I can see that you wanting that to be grass. And that's where you're going to want your view. I'm okay with that. But I'd like to see a couple big trees, not with the understory or anything, just so we know we're going to have some nice big trees on this side of the hill, because there were some, a significant amount of trees. That would be my personal recommendation. I think that would...
Well, what I was saying is we could address that in the notice of intent
Yes,
part.
that's where I was...
Get the sensitive parts around the water and around the stream first. Get that area over by the hillside. Because what we don't want to do is there'll be pushback and forth, because you got to remember, we got to approach the notice of intent with what would he be lawfully entitled to if he never touched the line? Okay, that's how you have to approach it. If what he proposes is he was lawfully entitled to, we don't want to get into a scenario where we're making him plant trees just so we can take him back down with an order of conditions.
and
We
that's-
want to make sure that we blend that restoration in under the NOI. I think your trees are gonna, what you're asking for is gonna help to address that, but we may want to wait till the NOI to address that particular area.
And that's why I guess that's why I'm recommending just a few amount of the large trees, because, once he does the landscaping, I'm gonna expect to see, grass, loam and seed, some other things. But I am gonna wanna see, as part of the restoration, a few big trees on that hill. So that's kind of going above and beyond just general landscaping, once I start asking for a 4 to 6 inch tree, in my opinion. Unless that's kind of what you were thinking, but that's not your average landscape. I can imagine that, I could see them coming in wanting this whole hill to be grass. And I just want to make it very clear that I do want to see some trees on this hill, specifically on this right side.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom, and I'm a little bit, I'm a little reluctant to let such a substantial thing go to the next step, because, I really don't want to hear, we address trees,
The next
down the
step really
trees.
is, it really isn't letting it go, though, because the next step is part of this step, because what the commission asked us to do is to include the restoration and the development and construction of the house is all under one file, one notice of intent, one order of conditions. Just you wanted a Phase 1 plan for the restoration, separated from the Phase 2 for the rest of the work, so that you can condition it, so you have to do Phase 1 before Phase 2. But this hearing isn't going to be closed, and you're not even going to be approving the restoration until the same point you're approving the overall development on the lot, so.
At which point it becomes a
it's not
package
pushing it
deal.
down. What I don't like, what I wouldn't like to see is, I think we should be able to incorporate something like that into the landscaping of the lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I wouldn't want to see that as part of the restoration per se that you're saying has to be done first, because if we get those trees sited in the right locations, you're gonna have equipment running all over, building the house.
Well, the restoration
All kinds of
wouldn't happen.
disturbance around those trees that is likely to cause them to die after we planted them. It'd be better to put those, if trees are going in those areas, it should be about the last thing that happens on the site, so they're going in and not getting disturbed afterwards.
Yeah, maybe we should revisit the process. If the process is getting us hung up here by separating the restoration from the house, and because we're now, at least two of us feel that part of the restoration needs to be some substantial planting on the hill.
I get it, the landscape wouldn't help. I think we should put the foundation, like you're saying, on the plan, show all the landscape, and I'll add some trees along this area. Show the
At that
bushes
point, it'll be the full development.
And then it'll be the
When you do the
full
planting, I think shouldn't confuse the plan, right?
Right, we can't do that planting until the construction's done. We can do this planting while the construction's going on.
Yes.
This will be the end.
After hearing the applicant's kind of rebuttal to my statement, I'd be okay with saying, let's limit the restoration itself, what we're calling Phase 1, to the 50-foot buffer, with the exception of a couple of plants that you did put outside, which I appreciate. So kind of what the areas you have here, that flat, knowing that once we see the full plan, because that way we can get the restoration approved, and like you said, get that, well, not approved, but that part done. We can focus on the hill and the house itself, because it's not like you're gonna be doing any work down on this flat except for the restoration.
Correct.
Just loom and seeded.
I would be okay with handling like that, I just want to make sure it's known, the applicant knows that I will be wanting some substantial trees as part of the plan.
So
I would be okay with taking it like that.
What I'm hearing is that we'll restrict the restoration to this 50-foot area that we're addressing now, but there will be some restoration in the following plan, which will be part of the NOI.
Right, once, on the notice of intent where we have the foundation and the cut and the hill, the walkout, then I can show exactly where we can put, and hopefully like weeping willows or something.
Yeah, and at least you're hearing us that we want to see some
Right, no,
substantial...
Yeah, we're all on the same page on that, yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely, no, I want a lot of plantings and landscaping. I didn't know that's what you guys wanted for now, but yeah. So, yeah, we'll work on that.
Yeah, so, just so we're all on the same page, we're gonna have the restoration plan as shown here with our few embellishments and everything.
Before you do that, though, could we just make sure Richard's got all his inputs? So-
Oh, sorry, absolutely.
I keep forgetting that, I apologize, Richard. Richard,
Well, you guys have covered pretty much all of my concerns for now.
okay, great.
So
good.
So that we're all on the same page and there's no confusion, misunderstandings, or anything like that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna provide the restoration plan with these embellishments that we talked about tonight, get that all squared away. And in addition to that, we'll also create the notice, a reorganized site development plan, showing the landscaping trees, showing the entire development as we were proposing, and all that kind of stuff, and then we can provide that and have that start being essentially opening the notice of intent by the next meeting. If we can provide these plans by, I believe next Friday was our deadlines, I believe, the Friday before, or do you want it earlier than that?
It's supposed to be 10 days, 10 working days, but we can work with you on that.
Okay.
We haven't helped too many people yet, but we need to get there.
But not the day before, I'm not gonna give it to you
Yeah, we
on,
need to be able to review them.
absolutely, so that's why I'm thinking maybe Friday before the meeting.
Yeah, at
But-
least that.
I would be amenable to that.
So if we're okay with that, I would prefer that and propose that that be our, next course of action, is getting this all squared away, then having our notice of intent conversations starting the next meeting.
I think that makes sense.
Comments on that, Bob? Sound good?
Well, the way I just kind of wrote it was that you're going to provide a restoration plan and a revised development plan that incorporates restoration in the landscaped area currently outlined on the notice of intent.
Correct. That's,
I would even be willing, and Mr. Chair, I'm throwing this out here, is to vote that we limit the restoration plan, or it's what we're calling Phase 1, to the floodplain, just so it's documented, so we don't start going back and forth again.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, what Phase 1 means
It's the restoration.
is actually doing the work, not the plan. Right, okay.
That was my understanding why you wanted it
Yeah, what you
separated.
said
You were
earlier,
gonna require
yeah,
it to be done
important
before you can actually
Because the
start.
restoration plan is all the stuff that'll be planted and done before they start building the house and the foundation and all that stuff.
Yep.
So that way they have to complete all this planting down here, down to floodplain, before they start working on the house itself.
So, because I'm sorry, but I get,
Basically 302.
I get hung up on terminology. I just want to be clear that, because I agree with everything you said, that that's the work that's being done, but there is some restoration in the next phase.
But it would also,
Part of the landscape.
part of the landscaping, we're not gonna call it restoration.
It's not
Maybe
required.
semantic, but it could be important.
It's not required to be done prior to the construction
The
of
work
the
is not
house.
required to be done, but if I forget when the work is being done, the total restoration plan goes outside of that Phase 1 work.
You got it. Okay, you got it.
So we're gonna loom and seed and just clean all this up.
Get it stabilized and whatnot.
And bring it back to,
Yeah, whatever's
The
in
natural beauty
the
of
notes with the leaf litter, plant material.
My only, one more comment to that before if we make a motion or how we want to decide to do it. That includes stabilizing the hill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely,
that's something you already have done, I just want to make sure.
the only thing,
that doesn't get.
the only thing
Yeah,
that
the,
can't stabilize is here, that's the part where the house is going.
Okay.
I mean, it's stabilized, but
Yeah, it'll be stabilized.
I wouldn't loom and
Isn't
seed
it-
it.
It'll be hayed and mulched for the time being during the construction.
Isn't it already?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all hay.
But during the construction, it might get disturbed, but the hay mulch will still stay, but at the end of the day, it'll be loamed and seeded.
yeah, because I try to push loom over that hill.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pull back a little bit too, but.
Right.
Yeah, I think the stabilization that's there now is sufficient. If it gets disturbed, it's got to get fixed. But
Absolutely.
I don't think, Tom, you're looking for anything more than is there now. Just make sure it stays
Just
stable.
making sure it's not going to wash out into the
Right,
lake, that's all.
right.
Absolutely.
Do you
That's all
feel,
that's
you feel you have reasonable understanding of the
hope so.
commission's sense?
Yes.
I think there's good consensus. I'm not sure if we need a vote on the, it'll be confusing and might,
If we're all in agreement and it's on the record,
yeah.
I'm
We got to say, we go to YouTube.
sure it's on the two.
I just, coming to the next meeting, or prior to the next meeting, I'd like to see this plan beefed up with what we talked about.
Absolutely, so next,
So we're not gonna, the next meeting, we're not gonna be presented with this plan with one or two more trees, I mean,
no, you'll get a full 24 by 36 page showing all the restoration, how's, plan on doing,
This and the notice of intent.
So what I,
within part of the notice of intent.
again, to be real clear, I think what we're saying is that we believe we're communicating in such agreement now that we can proceed and start the actual notice of intent hearings at our next meeting.
Correct, 'cause I think we'll be done with notice of intent, with the landscaping plan, the house. Right.
Right.
I got you.
Yes.
Richard, any comments? Is that your understanding too, Richard, or?
Yeah, well, this is an informational hearing. I don't think we should be taking a vote or locking us into any decisions.
Right.
I would also have a couple recommendations for Chris that we have, not put everything on one plan. If we can have a plan with restoration.
Yeah, they're gonna be separated.
Site work and grading, a plan with landscaping where this is kind of a clogged site and there are a lot of issues involved.
So you propose, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you want to see the restoration plan, a site development plan, and a solo landscaping plan?
At the minimum, yes.
Yeah, I hope everybody, you probably
I want to be able to
want one
understand
plan.
what they are, that's all. Making it separate was after.
That's good, yeah.
All right.
And the only other thing I'd like to see, so we have it, is a previous conditions plan. And you should have that because you submitted it with the original RDA, just so we know where we were at prior to the bomb going off.
I'm getting kind of blank looks, including my own here, Richard.
You essentially want the RDA plot again.
Yeah, just so we can see, where we were originally, so when there are commissioners that argue what our conditions were prior to all
Present a
the
copy
work
and paste
going
this in
on,
there.
we have that in front of
Yep, that works.
Okay, they're shaking their heads, looks good.
Yeah, some big blues and big.
I'm just gonna copy the same page and give it to you.
Basically, yeah, 'cause there's quite a bit of grading that had gone on before, when you were taking the house down, the slope's not in the same spot, the grades aren't the same. Just so everybody-
Yeah, that's what they- Absolutely. I got you.
Yeah, good, yeah, we don't lose step of that, good. All right.
Thank you.
I think we got it wrong.
What's the date of that next, what's the date?
The first.
March 1st, okay.
I can't be at that meeting.
Hey Kyle, if you can catch him, just make sure that he emails the PDFs of all of that so we can get it out to everybody prior to the meeting.
Okay, do you hear that, we'll make sure we email the PDFs, so that,
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know what happened in the last one, but yeah, none of us ever got that email.
Yeah, 'cause Paul got it for some reason.
However, from now on, when you send me stuff with an attachment, I will answer with the word received. So within 24 hours, if you don't get a response from me, give me a call, let me know that an email was sent.
Yeah, I'll bug you probably the day I send it to you too, a little later on afterwards.
Because I get emails over my phone as well.
Okay.
So even if I'm not in the office, I'll see it come through.
Okay. All right, will do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you, have a good night. You too. All right. Good progress. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, what's next, Matt?
We had administrative hearings continued.
Oh, well, yeah, Mr. Chair, we have an audience member who's going to...
Sorry.
Quick question. That was a public hearing? Does the public normally comment or, yes, comment? This is for my future
Oh,
information.
yeah,
We should have
my
asked.
wrist. You should have asked.
Just curious. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to know.
Thank you.
Usually they jump right up, Steve.
Just so you know too, because it's a continued matter, public comment in writing by letter or email is also welcomed in between. It's not just limited to the meeting, if it's been continued. Once it's closed, but if it's been continued, and the public hearing portion is still open but continued to another date, anything that's submitted by email or by letter is welcome. And I do distribute everything to the commission, by the way, prior to the meeting, so they have a chance to read anybody's input from the public, so.
So, since we're talking procedure in my education, was that a hearing, or was that, because...
Just to be on the safe side on this, I would vote to continue it to the next meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we didn't vote to continue, if this was a
Vote to continue it to
continuation.
the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we vote to continue the previous meeting till the next hearing on March 1st.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You have a particular item, or you just...
Education, and I don't know whether I'm allowed to stick around for the rest of the meeting or not.
A lot of people have a specific thing they're waiting for, and then they leave.
Thing is, if there's gonna be any conversation about the Woodlands action.
Really, the only thing I'm gonna say on the Woodlands, and I can take that right now, because it's a general agenda item, is that it will be on the agenda for the March 1st meeting as a public meeting. And I've handed out copies in advance of the application to the commission. Copies are available if you want one. I can send you one by PDF if you'd like. Just send me an email requesting it, and I will send it out to you. Other than that, that's all I was gonna say.
Okay.
Now, on the administrative matters, 43 Island Road, I did indeed, as the commission instructed and agreed, walk the site with Mr. Hannigan that next week. In between storms, when we had that really nice warm day where everything started melting, we took advantage of that and went out there before that next snowmageddon came in. Essentially, as you guys will recall on this with 43 Island Road, is that it was originally reported for me to investigate by an anonymous letter. I think it was, I have a timeline, but I believe it was back in August of last year. Brought him in September, And it turns out when I investigated it, there was an order of conditions on it, but it had expired. And Mr. Hannigan, over the last few months, has looked at this. I went out with him. And he actually started to do an as-built on that particular lot. He's gonna complete the as-built. Because there were existing walls on the rear yard. He wanted to add a wall in on the side. So what Mr. Hannigan wants to do, and I agree with this procedure, he's gonna do an as-built on what was built out there now, submit a request for a certificate of compliance on the old file, to get that old file out of the way, file a new notice of intent for the wall that Mr. Paroli wants to add on that area. I did warn Mr. Hannigan, both in writing and verbally on site, that if that is the case, Mr. Paroli needs to come up with photographic, clear evidence that there was a pre-existing wall there, because all that Mr. Hannigan and I saw on site was riprap, okay? So Bill's take on it was, he would be surprised if there was a pre-existing wall, because all he sees is remnants of riprap, and if they can't come up with a clear picture, then the NOI would probably be for just reestablishing the riprap that's there now and cleaning it up and armoring that part of the site. So that's what he's working on right now. On 338 Sunset, Whitman and Bingham, I had communication with them today by email. They have the plan done. What they are doing now is they're finishing up they're throwing more than what we asked. They're throwing in a remediation plan as well, or a proposed remediation plan. That will be submitted to the office by PDF by the 17th, which will be in a couple of days, which would be emailed to the commission, and then that would be put on the March 1st meeting with Whitman and Bingham here, along with the applicant for consideration. So instead of just an as-built, we would have an as-built with a proposed remedial action. Because apparently in speaking to Mr. McKenzie and Mr. Viviano knows we want some type of remedial action on the site. So he asked Mr. McKenzie to come up with a proposed plan, because Whitman and Bingham does a lot of plans, and they have a general feel for what we expect, so I think it would be a good beginning.
I think that's appropriate.
Okay, moving on.
Well, you've got the documents in front, Carl, you can't sign yours.
I can't
But
sign.
there is a quorum of members here to sign.
Which one is it?
It's a determination on some general work he had filed an RDA for at the last meeting.
Wasn't there.
Doesn't matter. It was approved by a quorum of members, so you can sign.
I can brief you.
It's really,
It's stupid.
it's a minimus, no big deal, stuff.
Now, getting on to the, I have 4 certificates of compliance in waiting. I'm just waiting for the snow to clear and some as-bills to get in. On the enforcement area, 121 Peninsula Drive, that is on track to be here in the March 1st meeting. He's notifying the abutters this week, and he's coming next week to draw the plans with me to the commission's specs. He's got the notice of intent form all filled out, everything's on track. I have advertised it for the 1st. 43 Island Road and 338 Sunset and 675 Reservoir, we've already gone over. 183 Hemlock, as you guys remember, was continued to April 19th.
When was that continued? Was
At the
that,
last, I believe it was the last meeting or the meeting before.
okay, did the applicant come in?
Yes. Yeah, and he was given a drop dead date in April.
Okay.
So we're reconvening on the 19th.
Okay.
And if those conditions aren't met by the 19th, we would deny his order of conditions and refer the matter to DEP.
And we also told him to get his tent and shed off of the buffer.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like March, by March, I think, or the middle of March. It was in advance of the April 15th.
Right.
That should be in the minutes.
It should be in the minutes. I don't remember if I caught that.
I don't remember if it was on the minutes or not. I can add it, but I know it was on the, I can double check it.
We're going to be initiating some pretty significant fines as well. And then we voted for, I think, was it $300 a day or something like that? $300 a day.
Yes.
Fining, bringing the DEP in. It was, it's going to,
You gotta bring a little blood.
I figured that was gonna be the case in that one.
All right, so, Emerald Beach erosion, Obviously, the place is covered with snow right now. I did have communication with the company that is doing the work, the engineer, and the property manager, and they are all collectively coming up with a solution that will be presented to us in writing for the spring, so we can view it properly. There is snow being dumped on the property right now from their plowing. I have been out there a few times to inspect to ensure that it is not within 50 feet of the high water mark. And I've cautioned Emerald Place about snow dumping and requirements under the state wetlands law. There was a complaint filed with DEP. I did take photos of the site, do measurements, and addressed it with DEP. So...
There was a complaint about snow dumping?
Yes. So that was on their radar as well.
All right, I'm not gonna sign this one, because you're requiring them to demarcate. I don't need...
Actually, that's just a protest. That's just an amendment, they're just putting a swimming pool. It's an amendment to an existing order.
Sorry. I wasn't here anyways.
One thing I did add on that order that, again, I outlined earlier, that I'm adding on the existing orders, on all the orders that we write from now on, is that erosion protection will be survey located in state prior to being installed and then inspected. You know, we've had a couple of, and they've been minor, but you don't want minor to become a $3 million problem in the future. So this is
Especially if we're using that erosion protection as...
a limited work, it's just the easiest way to do it.
I agree.
Okay, on my action items,
Wait a minute, we didn't do minutes.
okay, well, before you do that, right above it, the forest stewardship grant,
Okay.
I've given Gary Bolger some information, and I've asked him where he is on his next step, so I'll have a more in-depth report for the commission at the next meeting.
Okay. Just on the minutes, I did just look at them, and I missed it also. There is in there on the, what's the address, 183 Hemlock. The minutes do include Mr. Thomas indicated he could start that section of work, which is the buildings, by March 1st. So that is in the minutes. But I didn't pick up that, we didn't mention the fine. I think we should.
Definitely vote for that.
Well, then why don't we have a vote, and Carl, you and I can go over what we can add, and then we'll just...
Yeah, we're gonna have to go look at the thing again, because I don't remember
You
exactly.
guys have the second draft anyway, if you want to review it.
Okay.
I sent it out to all of you today.
Before we start.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be important when we get there.
Well, I know I listened to the tape for all the for details that I may have missed in the motions to make sure I get them correctly. You know, but I mean...
Let's look at that, if you guys can look at that again. that's-
Yeah, we'll do it. Hopefully it won't be relevant, but if it is, it's a big one. Okay, then, that was, Holman Street, anything on that?
I just got a question, is the parking lot plowed? I don't drive down that way. Do you know?
What?
Is the Holman Street parking lot, is
It was plowed, when I was there a week ago. Well, I went down and put up the no ATV signs.
Yep.
Like 10 days ago, and it was plowed at that time.
Okay.
I have not been there since this most recent storm. But I don't see why they wouldn't, they were plowing it before.
Yeah, they've been keeping the, both axes of the Cubby lot open, so I was just curious if they were maintaining that one too. I imagine they would be, but I was just curious.
I put up the no ATV signs by the parking lot, but I haven't put them up at the other end. Because I gotta schlep them.
I might be out there, so I can, I'll talk to you after the meeting about exactly where you want to put them.
See, committee report, so was that the Holman Street,
Yeah, that was Holman Street.
report?
I would just say, Joe and I went snowshoeing out there Sunday, and quite a few people have been snowshoeing out there.
Yeah, cool.
So it's definitely getting use.
Nice. I gotta get out there.
Yeah, beautiful. My father and I went out on Saturday.
And, and we crossed all 6 bridges, it's, it works really well.
Oh, do you need snowshoes to Go out there? Yeah, okay.
Right now you do.
Okay, I won't go right out.
Cross-country skis or something.
Okay.
Country lot you can hike because the trail's groomed.
Yeah.
By the way, I hope you guys liked the job I did on that article about the trails in the winter, trying to promote, you know, the article.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
Use those open spaces. in the
Was on the front page.
On the front page.
It's a ledger.
That was for the hunting,
Yeah, that was hunting, yeah.
but the one before I did was for the trails and about how the snow riders pack the trails down.
I'll check it out.
It was kind of funny that you mentioned the ice, because I mentioned in that particular article, and that was just before the last one, that don't depend on the ice measurements, because the town doesn't do them. Ken actually gave me a schematic that was included in the article as to when ice thickness is good, and I advise people to not try to measure themselves.
I'm telling people if they haven't checked the ice themselves, they shouldn't be out there. Because they're like, oh, well, the people on that side of the lake are out there, so it must be fine for
I
my
saw
house.
them over there, right.
Doesn't work that way.
This year, the weather has been such that the ice is just so scattered, like, we did an ice rescue training the other day on Lake Whalen, and we had...
Rich, you still awake?
6 inches of ice, but there was, open water, 100 yards away, so it's like...
Hickory Hills, my old cove, like where it comes over to the little lake, 8-10 inches ice out there.
Right.
Just over in front of my parents' house is open water. There's people ice fishing here and 100 yards down the way, it was open water. It's been a very bizarre winter.
Yeah, same's on Lake Shirley. I've got open water and, okay.
The other article that Carl was referring to was on hunting and conservation land and what our current issues are, and the fact that we're using Gary Goldrup's talents to help us determine, more proven uses of the property as far as hunting, and encourage the public to get involved in the process as we take it up in April.
That was good coverage. Okay, any Stormwater Committee report?
Brief.
Nothing to report today? All right, I want to hear it.
The highlights are that we now have basically an outline from the consultants with regard to what we're going to have to do. We started with the 9-jet stuff. We're starting to break that out in terms of what is the project we're going, what is the expected outcomes, and we'll start working down that phase. Also had a chance to meet with Loxi, with the superintendent of schools, specific to how do we integrate the things that we're interested in into the curriculum. The timing is perfect. They're going through and they're redoing the entire science curriculum right now. We gave her some materials to take in to feed the folks. We found some other additional materials, and we meet with Loxi approximately 2 months. Tremendous benefits, and allows us to get our pilot points with regard to meeting all the stormwater requirements federally. So we're asking that part of our requirements stormwater is that, okay, if we say we're going to do something, we're going to prove that we've done it, we've got to somehow measure the results. So we're asking, okay, what kind of feedback can we get from this training with the students? How will that work out in the long term? And so Loxi, I can't say enough in terms of level of cooperation and enthusiasm for this whole project. They have an environmental club that we'll be tapping into. They have 5th grade and I believe 9th grade education going on. We've got stormwater, the entire ecosystem. So it's just going to work out perfectly for us and for our conservation commission to load materials into the school system. Such in 20 years, we'll have children living in the community that are aware of what we do and the importance of what we do. Because at the end of the day, we're protecting the water supply.
So, stormwater right now, we have an ad hoc task force, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And so, at some point, we have to have actual stormwater, we have to be actually doing stormwater management.
We already are.
So, is that gonna be a function of the planning board? Is that gonna be a function of the conservation commission? Is that gonna be a function of, is this ad hoc committee gonna continue forever and become a new commission or committee under the town charter,
That's a great question, and it is a $100 question. We won't really have a good feel for how this is all going to play out until we really understand what this elephant looks like and all the various components that have to go into it. Clearly, the Department of Public Works is going to be a major player, just by that and the nature of what they do. I see a real role for conservation in some of those areas, especially with regard to planning, things like that, getting feedback loops. The planning board has to be involved. Right now, we don't have any members from the Board of Health. There's a question, is this really needed? Originally, that was part of the plan. We've lost one of our key members, outside community member, Sarah. She's had to step back. So we're running light, so we're looking for other members of town volunteers to come participate with us. So right now, we're moving ahead. There's some conferences coming up. Phyllis will be going to. You might be going to.
She went somewhere today, I don't know where, but...
So, in any case, we actually put together a little bit of an outline, not jet outline, we sent that out, and we're going to try and see if we can't make that a communications mechanism. We will then, the nice thing about this is a visual project planning tool, and essentially what we can do is put it into an interactive PDF and put it up on our site, so anybody can find out anything with regard to who's got, what the plans look like, what the supporting files look like, what the pictures look like, and we'll create that as our primary communication vehicle, trying to pull in as many people as we can, such that we have a meeting that's going to be 2 minutes published, but at the same time, the assignments of progress will be mapped out so we can organize. This is a monster. It really is much bigger than... Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
That was a very good update.
The key message is you have one opening and you need somebody to come do all that work.
Yes,
right?
please.
Hey, Jeff, did you hear Reader's Digest?
I haven't read one of those in a long time.
Okay, next, that was your committee reports.
I love you.
Any agent reports?
Okay, so Woodlands I already talked about. Yep. It'll be on the agenda for, you guys have copies to review. The annual report was actually due today. I'll have it completed for tomorrow. Everybody got a little delay because of the snow. I'm gonna make sure that we talk about the work that's been done on the Lane property and grant opportunities we've got going on for forestry. Make sure that all of that is in there.
The butterfly habitat.
The butterfly habitat, yes. The budget, I want to add basically, goals based on suggestions that I've been getting from some commissioners individually. And I'll redraft those and send those out for you guys to consider, because what I submitted was just a rough draft. So.
I would still like to try to add trail maintenance to that budget. I know it got shut down last year.
There was a line item in there, but it's been zeroed.
Yeah, it's been zeroed for a while.
Can we,
So I'll ask for it to be not zero.
The Lunenburg Snow Riders is not doing a loan this year for any trail improvements. They've been pretty tapped out, so the trail work that the Snow Riders have been paying for the last handful of years is not happening next year. So if trail maintenance, we're gonna be on our own I shouldn't say on our own, though, we'll still get help, but money-wise, buying material, we're not gonna have the grant.
You didn't apply for the trails grant this year.
So it's important because last night, Jack, if I could, please. The town manager presented the budget last night, and at our last meeting, we had asked that $3,000 be put in for materials for trails. Good. And it didn't seem to get in.
It keeps getting zeroed.
No, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true, because the town manager put up a list of all of the over-level funded things that were requested. Every one of them. They're down to, a few $1,000s.
Oh, we reviewed the draft.
We weren't there. We were not on that list. And I'll tell you, from my sense of the whole meeting and where we are with the town, if our $3,000 were there, it would be in the budget, because everything that was small money was accepted. It was only the a couple, fire, unfortunately, the big items, although some made it through, it's a start. But I think somehow, Matt, if you could follow up real quickly, because the budget is now set, and that $3,000, that's, the target's set, but it may not be too late. Somehow, I don't think it got to her. So, hopefully, they can still manage to get to 3,000, and I think it just got...
I'll email them right now.
Because, I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, but for us, for trail maintenance, it would...
Yeah, no, that's the thing, I mean, it was like, library was a short, a small amount, nobody, it didn't look like anybody was playing pig, and they got what they asked for. So if it's what what she said, it was a total list of everyone who asked for above level funding, and we weren't there. So please follow up on that, because we do need that, we do need some money. And it's not a terrible year for the town, so I think we could get it. The other thing with the budget, though, is the mission statement. I mean, the mission statement doesn't mention Wetland Protection Act.
Well, like I said, I'll redo the mission statement and the goals.
Okay. You
Submit
mentioned
that for
goals,
everybody to look at.
mission statement too.
No, I'll do
Great.
all that and then
Okay.
resubmit that.
Super. Okay.
Let's see, where else are we on the agenda? Like I say, I'm a little behind because of all the snowstorms, and you lose 2 days, it's like losing 10. Okay, we have 4 hearings coming up in meetings for our new ones for our next meeting. Pretty simple stuff. On our forest cutting plan review on Holman Street, the reason why I added that item to the agenda was because I received a complaint from an abutter on the forestry activities going on in the Massey property, that they thought it might have been a little bit of an overreach regarding wetlands. So I asked the service forester to inspect the property. The service forester inspected actually the property that day and got back to me that it was compliant. So, I just wanted to make sure the commission knew that that had transpired.
So that's not our Holman Street, that's the Massey property?
That's the Massey property.
Okay.
But usually when people have complaints, they come right to us, and I usually facilitate it with the forester. Now, on 120 West Street, that order of conditions that we issued was appealed by the abutter that had attended the meeting, talked about the grading. The appeal has been accepted by DEP. I'm expecting a letter any time now from Gary Domain from DEP as to who is the agent assigned. So they're looking at having a site visit within the next few weeks. It's probably wanting to give it a little time for the snow to melt.
Was that something we would be invited to?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never experienced or even seen one of these. What would our involvement be in that normally?
Well, essentially what's happening now is there's an administrative appeal on the state. When we issue an order of conditions, it's a bylaw order and a state order. We use the same form, but it's just that extra boiler that I add that said special conditions, that's not the state form, is based on all the conditions under our local bylaw. So it's one form, 2 different permits, okay? This gentleman appealed the state part of the form, of the order. So the state will come down, they will examine the whole project, they will examine what we approved, and if they feel it meets spec, they will issue a superseding order of conditions under the state law protection. If we examine that particular order and we decide it's conducive with our order, we can turn around and amend our bylaw order to incorporate any changes the state makes in. My experience in dealing with the state, when they've run into situations like where we've had we extended a 50-foot no-touch zone, the state usually honors those. Even though they don't regulate bylaws, they usually honor a setback like that, a no-touch setback. So if we, required him to have demarcation, I know that's your favorite word, Tom, demarcation, the state will honor the demarcation as well. I've seen them do it plenty of times in the past.
But this is just, anybody out there, this is a project that was a little difficult, there were some issues with it, but we ended up approving it. And the neighbor has appealed our decision?
Yes.
Okay, so it's appealing our decision. And, okay, so
What the state will do is they will schedule a site walk with the owner, and they will invite the abutter and the Conservation Commission to be present. Now, the owner automatically lets the commission on. In fact, Mr. Maxim told me he would let the commission on.
Yeah.
What I didn't speak with him about was the abutter. Technically, he doesn't have to let the abutter onto the property. He doesn't have to let the person appealing on the property.
Do we have what the appeal is? Do we have that document? So because I don't even have any idea what they're appealing, what's the basis of the appeal?
Yeah, I have the document. I can PDF and send it out to the commission.
Okay.
Not a problem.
It's just a new house that they wanted to connect to the sewer.
Yeah.
Say, generally what is
The way it's...
The same stuff he was saying at the meeting, the grading was
Close to their house.
was too steep.
On my backyard.
Well, it was a tricky
It's a
location.
tricky location.
It's a tricky location because they got rocks and hard places. It's steep in the back, but they can't move it any farther
Well,
forward.
essentially, he's afraid of the whole thing being a mudslide. It's not California, so we're not gonna
Which was
mudslide.
our concern, and they did reduce that grading somewhat, but, okay, all right, so, yeah.
But you
it's
never
kind of
know,
confusing.
I mean, the state could turn around and tweak some of the conditions and make some changes that would satisfy the abutters' concerns. You just never know.
Yeah,
But it's a good
If they can
process.
find a better solution, then.
The thing I like about the administrative appeals process, it's an inclusive process. The agent will want to hear from DEP, will want to hear from all of us. And it, if all of us attend, and because it's scheduled state sidewalk, it's not a meeting, because it's scheduled by the DEP.
Okay.
It's not our action, but he will want to hear from us. So, if a few of us go, he'll want to hear what the commission's thoughts were.
Yeah, good. Okay, so you'll keep us informed, and you'll send that out just because...
As soon as,
Because I've
I'll
never
send out
seen
the
one.
appeal, and as soon as I get the letter from the state, I'll let everybody know.
Okay, great, thank you. Communications.
I'd just like to make the commission aware, I've received a few communications from Bill Drum. He owns, remember the determination, I think it was before you, but, forgetting the name of the street now.
Sunny Hill Road.
Yeah, Sunny Hill Road. He owns those lots. Gary Lorden built a couple of houses up there. There's a duplex group home up there now. And there's that area on the bottom that was out of the buffer zone, and then there's that large area where there's a lot and a swamp.
Yeah.
He's willing to either work out a deal to sell us the thing for a song or donate it. I don't know if the commission will be interested in pursuing it, or if you guys want to think about it for a while.
I think we had talked about this before.
Yeah, think about it, it's the headwaters to the Catacumba.
Right.
Oh.
But it's also,
It's one of the headwaters. Now, maybe we should wait till spring and take a better look at it. Thing is that it's kind of all swamps, so it may already be protected as is.
right, I mean, if it's unbuildable land, to me, there's no real value in us taking it off the tax roll.
He could just, if it's unbuildable land worth nothing, he could also just donate it to the town in general.
Richard, any comment? I keep forgetting you there, I apologize.
No, I'd have to review it quick. I don't have any comment on that at the moment.
Okay.
I mean,
Although I'm never one to take property off of the tax rolls and
yeah.
talk to other people that are paying taxes on it. Let 'em-
That's what I was thinking.
I think we should be taking as much conservation land to preserve it as we can.
See, that's why you have many people, they got different points of view.
The more conservation land, the better, because then it's in our control. It doesn't get clear cut and filled in by accident.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, good points, all good points. All right, anything else on communications? Okay, next meeting schedule, March 1st.
Actually, I did have one issue, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
We've received a few concerns about the fines at 101 Pleasant Street. And I'd like to see if we can get a motion and take a vote to forward the delinquent fines to the land use director for further review and possible leaning of the property.
Thank you for bringing that up. I was going to mention something in public comment. I didn't want to do it at the beginning. I think you're right. I think we have, I think it goes beyond 101. I think we have, we should prepare ourselves for liens against, these significant fine owners. Even, I don't know where we stand, maybe you do, Matt, with 675. And there's a pretty substantial fines hanging out there.
My feeling was at least with 101 Pleasant, the property is currently for sale. Most of the other properties that there are fines on, there's not that much risk of the owner applicant just selling a property without addressing the concerns we had.
I understand, Richard, but I guess on the fine thing, I would be strongly in favor of pushing something through to test it, because we've been, on the sewer commission, has now been formally informed by our council that the town did not accept the Mass General Law, I got the numbers here somewhere, right here, that in order to lien properties for these reasons, at least sewer commission, I don't know why it'd be different here, because it's a town-wide acceptance, that you need to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Paragraph 58, and the town has not accepted that. Sewer Commission's going to get a warrant on town meeting for the town to accept it. Again, and this is Sewer Commission, there may be a different set of rules for conservation, but I think we've got to run it to ground and get something written from legal, whether we can or can't, because if we can't, then we have an action, and we may be able to piggyback on the warrant article the Sewer Commission's putting in, because what we need to do is you need to put it specifically what types of fines are included that you can lien for. It can't just be conservation is now able to lien people's property. It has to be for very specific things. So I think we should run that to ground real quick through Adam, I guess, and council, and get something back written from council, whether we can do this or not. And I think 101, you're right, is the first place that we should take a vote to do it if we can.
Do you think you want to take a vote right now, or do we want to just send it to, I don't think we need a vote to send it to the land use and to council.
I don't think so, Matt. I think, Richard, I think we could just ask, through...
I just make a motion and a vote, always to be on the safe side.
To send it to council?
Yep.
Yeah, I would certainly just to get everybody's word in on it, and it's just an administrative issue, so it's not an open hearing or something that we would need to publicize.
That being said, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we forward the fine issue on 101 Pleasant Street to the land use director and through him to town council for review for possible lien action.
I'll second that.
I have a comment. Are we putting ourselves in any trouble here by voting on an issue that's not on the agenda? We're voting on a property now that we didn't open a hearing on.
Yeah, I think it may be dangerous ground, and considering the issues here, we may be more prudent to not vote it and to simply vote or decide to send it to council to find out if we can do it. And if we can, then we can put it on the agenda and we can do it.
In general terms.
Just general terms,
That's fine.
Can we lien a property for a case like 101 Pleasant?
And leave out the property, can we?
It's just an example of something we have outstanding fines
I
that
would
aren't being paid.
withdraw my motion at that point then.
Or we could modify it.
Or modify it to basically, in general terms, through the land use director to town council, can you lien a property?
Mr. Chairman. Do we have a second on that? Who seconded the?
I did.
You did.
And I do accept that.
Thank you for conversation.
Motion discussion.
Yes.
I believe, Mr. Chairman, we've already voted the fine.
Yes.
Yeah, we have.
We've already voted the fine. So the question becomes, what is the vehicle for executing that fine?
Well, that's what the motion and the vote is for.
Yeah, okay, so that's what we're doing right now. Are we suggesting that we don't put this particular piece of property into this process?
We don't know what the process is.
The motion right now is let's figure out the process, and then once we know that, we can talk about...
Well, it's gonna be on the agenda for March 1st anyway.
We can talk about this piece of property on March 1st.
So the motion was to confirm we have the ability to lien a property.
Right, okay.
And then if we do, at the next one, we can put it on agenda. Sure. Richard, we're in comment now anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty secure that we can move forward, whether the fines were levied at a public meeting, the fines were voted on. I just wanted to have more of a consensus, so it wasn't just Matt, Adam, to start the leaning, or to review the leaning process, just to keep everybody informed.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think we do need to move, but I don't think it's so timely that if we can get a decision from council, it should be quick, because they've already looked at it for a sewer. It may just be, well, yeah, or you're completely different, and you're okay, you're good to go.
Oh, just as long as we're moving forward to the commission and everybody's on board.
Yeah, good, okay.
Mr. Chairman, when do we have to have the wording that
The warrants close the 23rd, I think it is, of March, so we got a few weeks.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, there is no public. Any closing comments from the commission? I got one, though. I got one. And Richard, you're probably the key guy to give me feedback, and this is sort of a procedural thing. And it relates to the insignificant change, which I got a good education last time, so it is an official term. But I now have a little concern that we would, that when we notify public or put it on agendas, that we call something an insignificant change before the commission even discusses it. I would have thought that it was the commission's job to decide which change category something is.
Well, I think by voting on it, we're saying, yes, it's insignificant, or no, it's
No, I'm
not.
talking about posting the agenda. The agenda is posted as an insignificant change. So it predates even the commission discussing it, and we're already telling the public and the applicant.
It's posted as a request for an insignificant change.
Okay, so
If you look at... if you look at the
terminology, I'm
agenda-
trying to learn the terminology here.
Right, no, and that's fine. It's posted as a request for an insignificant change, which is an applicant's prerogative. The commission doesn't have to agree it's an insignificant change.
Okay.
But it's the process. If they want to put it, if they don't think it's amendment worthy and they want to put it in as an insignificant change, then that's what they do here.
It's the same as an RDA, I mean,
If we determine it's not an insignificant change, we say, no, it's not insignificant, go for an amendment.
right.
Okay,
Or a new order. It's
Okay.
up to you. Go to either one.
good,
And that's what they do.
great, thank you. I don't mind being educated in public.
Yeah, and I have an education question. What's the difference between filing an insignificant change versus an amendment?
An insignificant change is an informal hearing. It's just put you on the agenda, it's a ministerial item. If you decide it's not an insignificant change, it then has to be re-advertised and the abutters have to be re-notified.
So for an amendment, they have to
It's reopening the hearing.
I didn't realize they had to re-notify their butters for
Yeah,
amendment.
and when you reopen a hearing, it makes that portion that you've amended subject to a new appeal.
I gotcha.
Okay, good, all right, we're learning.
The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't change the deadline on the expiration.
No comment? I'm ready for that motion, Bob. I move we adjourn. Thank you, sir. All in favor? Unanimous. Have a good evening, Richard.
Aye. Hey, took it off,
Thank you.